I was born in Botswana, and then when I was still a baby, we moved to the States, and I was there until I was 11 as an actual refugee. I mean, when I got back to SA, I went to a private school first, and it was, I don't want to name the school, but it's a good school. It's a good school, but the community, I didn't feel like I fit in. It was a discussion, would I prefer to have a car or would I prefer to move out? And I was like, I'm out of here. So I never really used my politics degree except sort of, I mean, I guess it shaped how I think about the law significantly.
Welcome to another episode of Sisters in Conversation. I'm your host, Debelo Motwane. I'm an attorney by profession and the founder of a platform called Sister in Law, which is a platform dedicated to empowering women through legal education. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so now. Follow us on all our social media pages as well, being Sister in Law across the board. And please leave a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. It goes a very, very long way in just opening the show up to a bigger audience. On today's episode, I'm joined by the amazingly gorgeous Kgomotso Mufamadi, who is a CEO at a labor consulting company. Kgomotso, welcome to the show. Such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning. I had such a beautiful conversation with you offline, which I think I want to tap into a little bit later.
That was private.
Very interesting. I'm going to just tap into it a little bit later. But please, can we start at the beginning? You know, with all our guests, we like to know who they are, where did they grow up, what was your childhood like?
Gosh, so I have a pretty checkered childhood. My parents were in exile, so I spent the first 10 years of my life in the US.
Okay.
I was born in Botswana, and then when I was still a baby, we moved to the States, and I was there until I was 11 as an actual refugee.
Okay.
Not a fake refugee. An actual refugee.
Yeah.
So, and then we came back to SA post-democracy, lived in different parts of Gauteng, settled in Pretoria, and then I matriculated in Centurion, went on to study at Wits, did all my degrees at Wits. That's pretty much
all
me.
right. So do you remember your childhood in the States?
Yeah.
Like, what were some of the exciting or the childhood memories that stand out for you? And were you with your other siblings, or are you an only child?
No. I have an elder brother and a younger brother. My younger brother actually still lives in the US.
Okay.
He went back to study. I mean, growing up there was weird in the sense that you never really fit. But even when I came here, I never really fit. Like when I came here, I was the American girl.
Oh, yes.
And there I was the African girl.
Did you come with an accent?
Yeah, I
you
did.
Grew up there.
I did. I had a very strong American
Yeah.
accent, and I was very deliberate about losing it.
Yes.
So because I just wanted to fit, I just wanted to blend in.
Yeah.
But over there, I mean, they used to call me Kgomotso. Not Kgomotso.
Yeah.
So I mean, all those kinds of little idiosyncrasies. It's funny because last night my brother graduated from NYU. He was doing his master's, and then I heard them pronounce his name because I was watching it online. His name is Thabo, and they were like, Thabo. I was like, back to this. We're back to this.
There?
So those are the kinds of things,
yes.
like never finding your name on a key ring, those little childhood things that you would like. That it's just not happening for you, baby.
Remember those key rings? Yes.
And a grain of rice.
Yes, on the grain of rice.
It was not an option.
Yeah, they never had African.
Yeah, even actually in SA, they also never had African names, which is very weird.
Yes.
I'm like, where am I? But yeah, those little idiosyncrasies where you kind of know, like your mom wants to plait your hair in an African way, and you're just like, Mom, these girls, everybody has a perm, you know? And so those little things, you always, you never really forget that you're African.
But you're, yeah. Those are reminders.
Yeah.
So do you still have, if you attended school, do you still have anyone who you're in contact with? Did you make any friends that you still speak to today?
Yeah, actually, my first friend.
Okay.
We still have each other on social media. And she's like a
Had you lost contact at some point and then found each other on Facebook?
Yeah, I think social media was the big sort of equalizer. I mean, back then we were like writing letters. It's not sustainable. But I mean, when social media came, I think everybody, I looked for all of my childhood friends.
I miss writing letters.
No, I don't.
Oh, really? I remember we used to do this whole time of day thing.
Yeah,
at the
school,
top, music we're listening to.
I remember that.
Song of the day.
And what were we even talking about?
Stop! stuff. Okay.
Important stuff.
Like by the time your letter gets to your friend, you've already
Yeah.
like broken up with the person.
Yes, and this is no longer your song.
It's no longer.
No longer your song.
That was such. Oh, thank you. That was nostalgic. And then you started. Okay, you started school in the US, but you came here and finished off primary, then went to high school.
Yes.
Based in Centurion.
Yes.
And how was that?
Fine. I think it was, I thrived in high school. Like I
Okay.
did really, really well in high school. I enjoyed my high school. I enjoyed doing the extramurals.
Which high school?
I went to Littleton Manor High School.
Littleton, yes. Okay. All right.
And I mean, I was a drama kid. So I was in all the plays and then I did public speaking. And I also played basketball for a little while. So I really, I was all in. I was a prefect, I was on the RCL. Like I was that girl.
Okay.
So I was in it very, very, very in high school. Yeah.
So when did you then become aware of the fact that you are now fitting in? Like just looking back, is there a time where you finally just in your teen years said, I'm good, I'm doing good. I'm doing all these. I do fit in. I belong.
I think around grade 10, I mean, I started to sort of come into my own. I started to kind of know myself a little bit better. I mean, the version of myself of grade 10 is not this girl today.
Yeah.
But I felt more comfortable.
And confident.
I felt like I had my friends and I felt like my friends got me. They understood me. Nobody was expecting me to be something that I'm not. And I could really just be myself with them. And I think that was the kicker for me, that I could just be me. So when I found that kind of niche group of friends, that's when I started to feel like, okay, I can do this. And that's when I stopped sort of thinking about going back.
Yeah.
The point at which I was like, actually, I don't think
I'm
I'll ever
comfortable,
leave
I'm happy.
South Africa. I think this is
Okay,
where I'm
that's
supposed to be.
Great.
Yeah.
There was a part of you that wanted to go back, or there was a time you
As
wanted
a
to go back.
child, like when we first came,
What was it? What were you longing for?
I mean, when I got back to SA, I went to a private school first, and it was, I don't want to name the school, but it's a good school. It's
Yeah.
a good school,
Yeah.
but the community, I didn't feel like I fit into the type of kids that were there. It was like, I mean, I came from a very middle class family in the US, and then when we're in private school, everybody's like these super rich kids, and I was just like, I don't get this. Like, I didn't get like the culture. I didn't get like what people were doing.
Is that why you then changed schools?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, we moved. We eventually moved to
okay.
Centurion, and then I got into school which was semi-private, and then I felt more like
Normal.
These are my here's my
People,
people.
yes.
Here they are, and it's weird
what you
because those who I went to that first primary school with, like, I'm actually still very much in contact with them as an adult.
Yeah, so those were your people.
Yeah, like back then, I didn't realize that low key we are each other's people because we caught up with at Wits after that, and then I was like, oh, these are the same kids. And now I think there's maybe more maturity also on their
Absolutely,
side and my side,
yes.
and there's not that sort of like, oh, we these fancy kids and we do fancy.
There's no like
things.
plastic.
No,
They've also
everybody's-
grown into themselves.
Exactly.
Obviously.
So now everybody's just like, okay, we're all cool actually. Like,
yeah, and
we're
now
all the
we're
same.
like all rich guys.
Yeah.
we're all
I don't know about y'all. But I mean, I think, yes, there's like an equalizer.
Yeah,
We're all like
yeah.
in our professional careers.
Yes.
We all studied at the same university.
I
so
love that, yeah.
everybody's kind of just like, okay, now we're all the same. Like it's all the same. Yeah.
And what made you then decide to study law when you got into Wits or whatever, whenever you were looking for a university, I'm guessing grade 11, matric, what made you decide that you wanted to study law?
So I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 6.
Okay,
That's
great.
my mom says that's when I first told her that I'm going to be a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that came from.
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
was clear from that age, and I kind of never
Looked back.
I never abandoned it. It was always just with me that that's what I'm going to do. And then I was obviously one of those kids at school. They were, where people prompted me and were like, you should probably be a lawyer. If you're not going to be an actress, you should probably be a lawyer. And then because I loved drama so much in school, I had this moment where I was like, I'm going to study drama. My dad was like, yeah. He was very, very stressed about
Yeah.
that. But he talked to me and he said, look, if you're an actress, go and study anything else. And you can go to auditions every weekend. You can do all these
But
plays
while you're studying.
While you're studying,
Uh-huh.
so you can actually take it up in a different way. And I was convinced by that actually I should try and map out 2 possible futures for myself.
Okay.
The irony is that I never went to a single audition. Like once I started studying, I did politics and law.
Okay.
So I did my undergrad first, and I enjoyed it so much, and I enjoyed the Wits community so much. I liked learning. I liked learning what I was learning. I even liked the law lectures in the beginning. Also, I mean, I enjoyed what I was
So
studying.
what was it? Was it called a BA in politics?
BA law. So
Oh,
it
you
was
did- oh,
it was
BA
BA
law,
law. So
okay.
I obviously did the law subjects in my BA, and then my other major was politics.
Politics,
So
okay.
I enjoyed it so much that I just kind of forgot about all of those other things.
About the auditions.
Yeah, and I don't have any regrets. I mean,
Okay.
I find myself in different spaces where I'm exposed to media like this, TV spaces, magazines, all these other things that I get to do. And I think that plugs into that part of me. And
the
then
drama
and
side.
then I'm satisfied. Like, you know, if I can engage the media in a different way. And I think social media also allows you your own theatrics in a way.
Absolutely.
You kind of can be in that world without really being in that world.
Yeah.
And I also have a sense that celebrity as a concept is a little bit much for me. Like, I mean, there's like a level of there's a level of exposure that I would want for the sake of my business, for the sake of my career. But I think there's a level where you don't
want to go into
where
you don't
people
want
are
to tap
too much
into that.
inside of your
Yeah.
of your world that would come with like an acting career or a professional media career. That I'm not interested in all of that.
Yeah.
So I think this is just enough.
You're good where you're at.
It's just
I
enough.
love that. I love that. And what kind of campus life did you have? I mean, given that you were so busy in your high school years with like basketball and this and that, were you also as active in university, or did you
No.
just focus on the books?
No.
Okay. And why is that?
Both of those things are not the case.
Like, what happened?
I mean, I think we just had a good time, a really good time. I mean, we were just having fun on campus. You know, my friends and I were just having fun. And I remember the first 3 years, I still stayed at home. So
Okay.
I didn't attend any campus parties at all. Like my parents were just like, it's not an option. We still lived in Pretoria.
Yes,
So I would
so
commute
now
every day
going
to
to
Joburg.
Wits,
It was just not even a thing. And I mean, my parents also wanted me to be home, I think for that particular reason, to not be overexposed to the lifestyle, you know? And then after I got my first degree is when I moved into my own apartment, and then I could be able to go out and have a good time. And my friends and I did, you know, I won't lie to you and be like, well, I was in this club and this society. No. So for us, it was work hard, play hard. And I was grateful that I had a group of friends who were as committed to us being in the library for hours as going out over the weekend. You know, we
love
had
that
balance.
balance,
Yeah, I mean, we
yes.
would be planning, like meet you at we used to call the library the bibliotheek. So, well, like in Afrikaans, it's bibliotheek. So we used to call it the bib. So we'd message each other, see you at the
See
bib,
you at the
3 o'clock.
bib.
I'll be at the bib at 3 o'clock. I'll be
Okay,
at the bib. So we
great.
were very committed to like
Your
our
studies.
studying, but also having a great time.
Sure. And how did you, or did you have to at all convince your parents to let you just fly out the nest and move into your own apartment? How was
Yeah.
that conversation? Like, was it something that you had to do for like almost a year and say, and really motivate? Or were they like, you know what, in the past 3 years, you've been a relatively good child. We trust you. Go.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a discussion. Would I prefer to have a car or would I prefer to move out? And I was like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'll use taxis. I'm going to be fine.
Yes,
So that was kind of the discussion. And then, I mean, the first year I did really badly actually in my academics in the first year. And they were just like,
Come back.
yeah. And then, but they didn't. I mean, they didn't say I should come back. I think they just, and they never even,
Because you have to figure it out, right?
yeah, I think they also saw that I felt even worse than they felt. Like I was horrified
Yeah.
because I'd never, done so poorly.
Yes.
And they, they didn't even really reprimand me. I think they saw that she's going through enough. She's going through enough, dealing with failure for the first time.
Yes.
She's dealing with enough. And they never said like, come home. But I never failed anything else ever again. Like I never did poorly again.
But looking back, what was the cause of you not doing so well during that year?
I think it was two things. I think it was arrogance. Coming off my first degree, I thought I was brilliant. I thought I was a
Okay.
little bit of a genius. I was like, I have a
can
Wits
do
degree. So I was pretty arrogant. I didn't take my lectures as seriously because I thought, no, I know what I'm doing. Like I can handle this. And the law, going into pure law was quite a big learning curve from what the subjects that we did during the BA.
during the BA years.
So I needed to actually be in lectures
to put in
seriously.
more time and at the bib.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was just like, I can study, but like I don't have to push because I clearly know what I'm doing. I clearly know how to do this thing. That in part, and also just I think the recklessness of not balancing adequately my studies and my social time. I mean, we arrived at that point eventually as a friendship circle where we got to a point of we know how to balance our books and our fun. But in the beginning, it was definitely like a transition.
Rocked you.
Yeah, where you're just out of control. I think I was 21 and I was just out of control, to be honest. And I didn't have a sense of self-discipline yet that I needed to actually get to the next level of my qualifications.
Sure, but I mean, that ice water really woke you up.
Yeah, no. This will embarrass you guys.
What do you guys say? Push you off the edge?
Yeah,
It gives you the edge.
then it pushes you over. But now I'm president of the convocation.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I tell them those things in proper meetings. Like you push us over the edge.
Yeah. Sure.
It's not an easy university.
Okay, all right. So then you graduated your LLB, and then when it was time to get into the working world, your career, what route did you choose? Did you pursue your articles, or did you lean more on the politics side of things?
So I never really used my politics degree except sort of, I guess it shaped how I think about the law significantly. But I never worked in that area. I went to the constitutional courts. So I clerked to the constitutional court as my first job. I initially was, hell-bent on doing articles. I had gotten articles at a big firm. And because my academics were so poor in that 1 year, I lost my articles. And then I thought my life was... Yeah, because the firm was like, no. But I feel like it was definitely a blessing in disguise.
Okay.
It was the beginning of a very different path than what I thought that I would take. So in my final year, was stressed, didn't have articles, and then got articles at a small firm in Pretoria that I won't mention. And I didn't want to go, but I was like, hey, job, guys, like, what can I do?
You got the articles now before clerking?
Before I interviewed to be a clerk even. I had gotten articles, I accepted those articles.
You're like, hey,
and then I was like, hey, let me just go and work, And then I got an interview at the court with Justice O'Regan.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and we were just having a conversation like this. Didn't even feel like an interview. We were talking about cooking and all kinds of like girly things. And I was like, that was great. And when I left, I was like, I probably didn't get that job, but that was great.
Because we were just having a girl chat.
Yeah, but I was like, also she probably wants somebody, fancier, like with a better academic record. I thought all of these things. Yeah. I had that self-esteem, that low self-esteem feeling like I'm probably not good enough for this job. Like they maybe just give me the interview on a whim. And really felt like, I just met a judge. I'm satisfied.
It was so great. Yeah, we had a good conversation.
I was very okay. Like I was like, it's cool.
You're like, even if I don't get this, I love the experience. Like it was a good experience.
Like I walked through the halls of the constitutional court. Met this amazing woman. Like I was totally satisfied.
So what happened when you got the call?
Then they called me and they were like, you need to sign your contract.
And I was like,
first of all, the lady was very like, hi, is this Kgomotso? You need to come and sign your contract. Like, didn't say where she's from. Like nothing. And then I was like, hello, ma'am. What are you talking about? Who are you?
Yes.
And then only then explain like, oh, I'm from the courts. We want to send you an offer and you need to sign, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, eh?
What do you mean?
I was shocked. Like, I was like, this is wild. Not me, So I really didn't expect to get it at all. And then I got it. Best job I've ever had.
And what did that do for like your I don't know. I don't even know how to structure the question.
Yeah.
But like, what did it do for you in terms of just really how affirming it was, right? And especially because there was a lot of doubt with you. Okay, my marks weren't that great. You've also now lost articles that you had already secured at a big firm. So what did that do for you?
That was a big boost for my confidence. Like it made me feel like, okay, I'm capable. But at the same time, I think the experience of struggling in some aspects of my studies just brought me down to earth. That at times you must continue to seek knowledge. Like there's no space in your life that you're ever going to be in where you'll ever know it all. So I kept that. And for me, I often have to strike a balance between being confident and asking questions and asking for help and knowing when I don't know. So that's a really critical lesson that I think I learned in that time that I often revisit. You know, where something amazing happens, and then I'm like, man, I'm the dude, you know, and there's this moment where, you know, I have a big head, and then I have to be like, wait, like
Remain teachable.
yeah, remain teachable, remain open. Even though you're here, it doesn't mean you know everything. Continue to learn and continue to grow and continue to test yourself, continue to shape yourself. So I think that's what it did for me. I mean, I felt very good about the work that I was doing, even in this space. I mean, Judge O'Regan was an amazing teacher and she was very affirming. And then I worked with her for the first 9 months, and then she retired. And then I worked with the Chief Justice after that, Judge Mogoeng, for 3 months.
Oh,
And
it's a 12-month
It's a 12-month program,
Okay.
yeah. So, and even when he came in, when I was leaving, he asked me to stay. So,
And did you?
No, I didn't. I chose not to stay. I wanted to pursue my master's,
Yeah,
and I
okay.
think by then I was done. So I also am.
You got what you needed
yeah,
to get from the
yeah.
experience.
I think I'm very good at sort of knowing when I'm finished.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. And what's the highlight of your 12 months there? You know, maybe you can give us like 2 highlights with the justice and with Oregon as well.
So I think, yeah, I mean, it's probably, all of it is probably going to come from Justice O'Regan's time, which is no slight on Justice Mogoeng. It was just a short,
Well, it was a short
it was
stint.
just a shorter
But I mean,
time.
the compliment is please stay,
Yes,
right? That was the highlight.
That was big for me.
Yeah,
definitely.
that was the highlight.
With Judge O'Regan, I mean, I think the cases, she was just so sure. You know, she never sort of went back and forth or wavered. When she was clear, she was clear. And she taught me a lot about being clear and being decisive. And, you know, the cases where we were the writing chambers, you know, I never saw her flinch. You know, she would still seek more, and she'd say, you know, I need more case law here, bring more case law here, write a memo about this, let's think through this. We'd talk about things, but she was clear. She was decisive, and I'm talking about her like she's passed, and she's very much going strong.
No way. I mean, we're talking in the role,
She's
right?
in the role, but
Yes,
she's very much going strong
Yes.
even now. But she taught me about that confidence in what you do know, and while seeking knowledge, while still seeking to know more, being very clear about what you're clear on.
Yes, yes, that's
and
important.
I mean, one of the cool judgments that we worked on, the A party judgment, was about voting, people voting overseas. The DA had brought a challenge about whether or not it was an urgent case. And we stayed at court until like 6 p.m., which was very unusual. And I mean, we started the hearing at like 3 in the afternoon. I mean, it was very exciting. And
Yeah,
the media
yeah,
was there.
yeah.
So that was a very big one for us. The Mazibuko judgment was also very big for our chambers around water provision in Protea. So I mean, we had a lot of really, really cool highlights, but I think she was my highlight.
Okay, I love that.
And she, honestly, she taught me about what leadership should look like. She was a very firm manager, but she was very understanding and compassionate and empathetic. I mean, I was using public transport at the time, and she would pretty much chase me out of my office at 4:00 because she
I
was
guess you
like,
chose the apartment over a car.
but she would be like, "You are using taxis. It's not safe.
Yeah,
Go." You know, she
yeah.
never had an expectation that I would be at the office until 6 or 7 p.m. because she said, you know, it's not safe.
It's not safe. Go
Ultimately,
home.
we're in Hillbrow here. Like, this is not safe. Please go home. Like, don't worry. We'll deal with this tomorrow. This is not a big deal, you know? And I always say to people, I feel like we needed her as her clerks. We needed her more than she needed us.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
she was my highlight.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That is so, so beautiful. And then what then happened after your clerkship? You pursued your master's?
Yeah, so then I decided to do my master's
went
full-time.
back to Wits.
Went back to Wits.
Okay.
Do my master's full-time in IP and media law.
Oh, I love
And then didn't have articles, didn't have a plan. Just knew that I wanted to go back to school.
Why IP and media?
I was just fascinated by those
Okay.
things. I thought that was where my career was going. I was very sure that that's what I was going to do.
And it was actually like very new then.
Yes,
Hey,
it was
like
it was a hot
relatively,
thing.
it was the
you know?
hot thing. I
Yeah,
remember.
I had a great supervisor. He taught me in my final year also. Professor Ian Curry. He's now an advocate. But really just an exciting subject. And I thoroughly enjoyed my master's. I thoroughly enjoyed going back to school full time and being able to focus on something, whereas with your undergrads, you all over the place. With a master's, you can, you're just thinking about that thing and writing your dissertation. I wrote on indigenous knowledge. And I just loved doing my master's.
Indigenous knowledge in the context of IP.
So indigenous knowledge, can't even remember the name of that. Pelargonium is the name of the plant. So there's a plant that grows indigenous to the Eastern Cape that people of the Eastern Cape and also Khoisan people in particular use to make cough syrup, kind of like cough syrup. It's kind of like the herb they were punting during COVID. Remember, you remember they were saying everybody must use this and drink
lingana.
this.
I forgot what it's called in English.
Yeah, it's the same family
Okay.
of herbs. And basically, it was around the use of that. I mean, there's companies in Germany making cough syrup from that herb and making like bajillions of US dollars. And there's no money that goes back to the indigenous communities who discovered the properties
Was
of
that
that
not like
plant.
something similar to rooibos as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, that's a similar argument that actually, these products of ours that are indigenous to South Africa, indigenous to our people, they're exported to all kinds of countries and
we don't benefit
and we don't
from
benefit
it.
at all. So it was really about that framework. The law has since developed. I mean, it was a long time ago around making sure that indigenous communities have credit around some of these products. But at the time, there was no framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so then you got your master's in IP and media, and you didn't end up using it.
No, at all, ever.
Did you ever then do your articles?
Yes.
Okay.
So somewhere in the middle of my master's, the firm, actually my Judge O'Regan was supposed to be one of the founding partners of the firm, Cheadle Thompson Haysom, a labor law firm. And she was like, you should check out Cheadle's. And I was like, okay. And then I went to their website and I really hated that website. Even when I started
Like
working
the look
there.
of it or the content?
The everything.
looked-
it was just a bad website. And even when I went to work there, I was like, guys, we need to work here. But I being really young and immature, like judging people by their websites. I was like, if the website ain't it, like I don't want to work there. Like, what kind of a place is it going to be? You know. And she was like, listen, just give it a chance. Like, I know the people, like, just think about it,
And it's good that it came from someone that you really respected and admired. Yeah.
And then I applied, and then I got an interview, and then I got a second interview, and then I got the job. And then went in to do my articles. And what attracted me to the firm is that they did some constitutional work and some media work. So I was like, well, of course, that's
fit
where I'll
right
be,
in.
I was like, that's what I'm going to
Yeah.
do. And then first day, labor. And I hated labor law. I hated labor law. So during my studies, I was like, this is the worst.
And was it because, you also hated it during your studies?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to say, was it because you already just told yourself media, and then now they throw
No,
you into
even
labor?
during my studies.
Okay, even during
I was
studies.
like, this
That's
is
interesting. I
not
really loved
it.
labor law during
Yo,
studies.
I think, I don't know. I don't want to blame anyone.
Yes, but you just
but it didn't
hated
work.
labor.
It
Okay.
didn't work. Me and
Alright.
labor law didn't work.
Yeah, so they threw you into labor.
They were like labor. And I was like, whoa, you're making a mistake. I should be in that department. And they were labor. That's where the capacity is needed. A medium-sized firm, it's about capacity. It's where are the bodies needed. Go there, It's not necessarily your rotations
What you want.
and all of this.
Yes,
That's not
yes.
going to happen, right? So went into labor under my former boss, Raynard Daniels, who's now a judge of the labor court, Judge Raynard Daniels, and still my mentor.
Yeah.
And learned everything there was to learn about labor law at the time.
Do you sort of remember when you like transitioned into loving it?
I don't remember the moment.
Yeah, but
I-
eventually you're like, I'm good at this.
and I think it also it aligned with my political inclinations, which had developed during my time at the Constitutional Court. I mean, I think up until I was at the Constitutional Court, I was a little bit of like a bougie, spoiled little girl. As much as I studied politics, I didn't have a real grasp of what our socio-political context was in South Africa. Not really. I had a high level understanding growing up in a political household.
Yes.
You know, that's the kind of conversations always having with my parents. I had a high level understanding. But in terms of my career in my mind, I was like corporate Barbie. So, and I was like, that was who I was going to be, you know? And I didn't imagine myself to be participating in a national project of you know, socio-political or socio-economic emancipation. I didn't imagine myself as part of that level of nation building. I was like, no, I make money. Like that's what I do. And then when I got to the Concord, dealing with sort of the nitty-gritty of those cases and understanding better what are people really living like in South Africa and what's my role? Who am I in this game, you know? And what should I be thinking about as a lawyer in this world? And then when I got to Cheadle's, it even sharpened that focus more because I started to think of this in the context of workers and workers' rights and fair labor practice and understand that. And I think the interesting thing about labor law is that there's an element of agency that isn't there with other areas of human rights law. So sometimes with philanthropy, you think of people as beneficiaries, you know, recipients. They will receive all this goodness from the top, you know, as opposed to the bargaining that happens in a workplace context and the power that workers have vis-a-vis the power that employers have. So that really interested me in the context of our people having an element of agency, a significant element of power. And what does that look like in relation to the power of employers? So that's what I think sharpened my interest in labor law, the political context that I was now growing into.
And you see how you just like explained that so beautifully? That's exactly how I felt when I was studying labor law. So how are you not feeling all that warmth?
Because I was still being bougie. I was still being bougie.
Like, how are you not feeling? Like, I really loved labor law. How are you not feeling that?
No, I was still like, yeah.
The way you put it is exactly how I would feel when I was in the lectures.
No,
Okay.
I was still, you know, just being a Barbie girl, like just trying to be cute. Like I was not. It was just my own immaturity, honestly.
And in those, you did 2 years, right? Articles.
Yes.
In those 2 years, can you share like a highlight with us? What's like one of your favorite moments where, obviously you went into it not convinced that labor is something that you want to practice in, but in the 2 years you'll obviously learn and start falling in love with the role. What is your highlight from those 2 years?
I think maybe there were ongoing highlights. I mean, I think the first thing was realizing that I could bring in my skills around drama and public speaking into my legal work. I mean, we used to have this thing at Cheadle's called legal updates. So we would present on case law, do research, and then you present. Different younger professionals present every week. And I was
To the rest of the firm.
To the rest of the firm.
Okay.
And I was really, really good at that. And then I realized, like, this is the thing that I'm good at. And I wonder where I can go with this thing of being able to speak really, really well and explain the law well. I wonder where I can go. So it kind of made me think, where can I go? And it kind of led me into my next career move. So
Which was CCMA?
academia.
Oh, lecturing. Yes, yes.
So it moved me into that direction of learning that actually that's an important skill and you can use it to make a living. So that's the first thing. And then I think for me, developing relationships with our clients, our shop stewards, you know, who in a normal world, I wouldn't interact.
Men on the ground.
Yeah, I'm not going to interact with shop stewards on a normal day-to-day basis. But having to get to a point where I'm comfortable and relaxed and they are comfortable and relaxed and we are developing that relationship and they're happy with the work that I do, they're happy with the way that I support them, that was very humbling for me and maturing and refining for me as a legal professional and as a labor lawyer. And I think that steered me towards the CCMA, learning how to interact with different kinds of people that I hadn't spent my life interacting with. So I think it's an ongoing highlight, but I think that for me was, that's how the experience shaped me.
So did you lecture before CCMA?
So I started lecturing, and then 2 years into lecturing, I overlapped with the CCMA.
How did you get into lecturing?
On a whim. So, so I at the end of my first year as an associate, I became very clear that I was done with legal practice in a formal sense. I felt like legal practice was limiting for me. That part of me that enjoyed speaking and presenting, I wasn't doing that enough.
Okay.
So I felt like legal practice was limiting the rest of me.
Okay.
I felt like I was only lawyering, but the parts of me, that little
The
girl,
drama
that little
wasn't
girl, the
coming,
drama,
yeah.
it was nowhere. But that part of me still needed to be satisfied.
Hmm.
The part of me that enjoyed flexibility and freedom and choosing my own life. I'm not very good at rules, so I'm not very good at. I wouldn't say I reject authority, but I don't really like being told like what to do every day, and I don't really like that. I like to choose my own life, my own day. I want to deal with things in my own way. So I struggled with that element of formal employment, and in particular, in practice, it's quite rigid. I mean, it's hours, you know. And I didn't like that my minutes were connected to rands so intrinsically. Ironically, I came back to that,
But still,
yeah.
I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah, ironically, later
Yeah.
in my career, when I wasn't billing, I'd be like, "Hey, I'm not going to charge for these these hours." Ironically, but in the beginning, I didn't. The notion was just foreign to me. So
Relatable.
yeah, so I then started praying a lot and looking for something else. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know if I needed to be at another firm. Or if I needed to change, or what, you know, like I applied for weird stuff, like in PR and comms, and I applied for anything under the sun because I wanted God to direct me, to show me which way I must go. So just did that. And then after a year, I got 2 job offers on the same day. And one was in academia and one was in a consulting firm in Cape Town.
Had you applied in academia? Okay, all right.
So I had applied to work at UJ.
Okay.
And then I applied at this consulting company in Cape Town. And they flew me down for interviews. And then UJ was interviewing. So I was interviewing with these guys at the same time. And then on the same day, I got 2 offers. And I was like, I really don't know where to go.
What was the other consulting about?
Basically, that firm, I mean, they do quite a wide variety of consulting, but I was going to be in their transport department. So they were consulting on things like, you know, they consult on things like the Gautrain, your Ria Via buses. So they do that kind of work with governments, with government departments to
Also
shape things.
exciting. But
very exciting.
The flexibility that you wanted was truly lecturing.
It's not going to happen. And I also wasn't really ready to move to Cape Town because initially when I interviewed, they said I'd be in Pretoria. And then when the partner in Cape Town met me, he said
like,
she was actually just moved to Cape Town. And I was like, I'm not really ready to go that far. And moved into academia. Great decision.
Okay, great.
8 years of my life in academia. Loved it. Really, really loved it.
Yeah.
I loved
but how was like the first week? Weren't the students like a lot?
No, I mean, you know what?
Pretty well behaved.
I mean, a part that I missed in my career during this conversation is that I also ran a nonprofit for 10 years.
Okay.
And then our nonprofit focused on career guidance for high school learners in under-resourced schools. So I was pretty used to young people.
Comfortable with young people,
Yes, we used to run workshops every month. So I was pretty comfortable with working with young people. So I think that's also what helped me get the job, that I had been working with young people for years. And then I think the daunting thing about academia was when my first lecture came, I was like, hey, Bo, are you guys not going to check what I'm going to say?
Oh, yes. I've heard that you construct your...
you develop your lectures.
Curriculum and you develop your...
Yeah. And then I was like, but are you guys sure of what I'm saying?
Did you want someone to come and listen in on the first day to be like, oh, well done. Yeah. This is how you...
Or this is what you're supposed to do. Like, good job. You know, like I was like, guys, and nobody teaches you how to lecture.
Oh my
They
goodness.
hire you and then you go and teach. So nobody's like, here's your training. There's no training.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, you're a legal professional. Go
so
and do it.
you know what you need to say.
Go and do it.
Yeah.
You know, whether you're good or you're bad, you fall on your own sword. It's between you and these kids.
Yo.
So, I mean, I was very much like, are you guys not going to check?
Yeah, so here's the syllabus, teach it. That's basically how you teach it is up to you.
The content, sort of the content refinement happens a lot at you know, when you're developing your module guide or whatever, then you've got an HOD who will be like, you know, but they never really, I mean, they trust you for the most part. They never really change things or take things out.
And there's no micromanagement.
No, I mean, that's probably the thing that I love the most.
Yeah.
I had a really great supervisor at UJ. Professor Almarie Fourie, and she was just the best. Like she was just like, you know what, we'll meet like twice a year, and good job. Like you're publishing, great,
Good job,
go.
eh?
Like she was just, and she was more supportive than anything else. You know, and really, you know, when I needed her support, then I could just be like, I need to chat or whatever, and she was like, okay, 100%, let's solve it like this. So she was just great as a supervisor for all those years. And then somewhere in between, I started to miss lawyering. A couple of years in, I was like, I need to lawyer.
How many years in though? Like
2 years. 2 years in is
but
when
you
I
still did lecturing for 8 years.
yeah.
Okay.
And then CCMA commissioner for 6 years. So,
Okay, so it did overlap
yes.
with those 8 years.
Yes.
So, but those were two very like flexible roles, if I can put it that way.
Yeah,
Like you're
I
not
mean, you
sitting
choose your
in an office 9 to 5.
No, with the CCMA, you choose your days, and you know, you give them the days that you can give them in a particular month, and then usually your day starts at 9 a.m. Cases start at 9 a.m. and theoretically you could be done by 2 with your day, unless you have a long arbitration in the afternoon, and then you're there for the whole day. So you know, it was a lot of flexibility. I enjoyed that time. You know, I really enjoyed the way my days and my life was structured, because, you know, I could do with my time what I wanted. And I still managed to make time to publish. You know, I was, you know, well-published academic. I didn't have challenges with publication, conferences, traveling all over the world. I mean, I got to see the world and not pay anything.
Through
academia.
through academia,
Yeah.
and through, mind you, I need to remind you, it's the labor law that you did not want to be.
And even when I got to academia, I was still like, maybe I should get back in IP.
Like, do you see your life, Mara?
No, I mean, but this is exactly why I said that for me to lose articles, you know, at
It
that
was a
point,
blessing.
it was a blessing in disguise. I didn't realize where my career was actually
you
going.
actually would have been in a firm where you're doing the rotations, and you probably wouldn't have found like a niche as quickly as you did.
No, and I just don't think the space, knowing more about those spaces
knowing what
now,
you know today.
I don't think I would have been really happy in that space. And God knew for me, my baby girl, no, you shouldn't be going there.
Relatable.
Yeah. So I think I didn't know.
Did CCMA headhunt you, or did you apply?
No, I applied.
Okay.
I applied. So you apply to be a commissioner. You have 2 grueling interviews.
Okay.
I sat in my interviews and I thought, did I do something to you?
Oh, like,
You know,
like
are
you
we
thought it was
fighting?
personal. Yeah.
It's like, are we fighting? Like, what happened? Is there something I forgot that happened between you and I? Because those interviews were grueling. And both interviews, I was like, I definitely didn't get this thing. Like, both times I was like, obvious. These guys don't like me at all. And then they called me for a second interview. In the second interview, I was like, why are we wasting each other's time? You don't like me.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I was like, we don't like each other. It's okay. Like, don't call me for these interviews anymore.
Yeah.
And then they called me to come and start the training, which the training is like, it's like 9 months. It's really long. And then you attend classes with commissioners, with all your fellow new commissioners.
Okay.
And the commissioners teach you directly. I mean, that was awesome.
Are you paid during the training?
No.
Okay.
No. So you go through all the training, and then only when you start your sort of on the ground training is when they start to pay you. So I mean, that's the point, and it's months later. So CCMA commissioners, for people who don't know, go through extensive training.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like it's a role that you can get into straight after articles, right?
No, I mean, it was about 4 years after I had been admitted that I became a commissioner. So no, you can't get into it straight after.
It's not like common for people to attempt to.
And they also want a measure of labor expertise and knowledge. So you would have had to have done that at the firm you were at. I mean, luckily the firm that I was at, they pretty much wrote the Labor Relations Act and the Basic Conditions of Employment Act. So the firm is very well respected in labor circles. So I think that also assisted me to get into the CCMA.
How's the website now?
That's better, Shem. Shem, it's much better. They improved. I remember when they had their photo shoot as directors. I was like,
okay,
well done.
I see you.
Well done, guys.
Okay, great. And then how did all of that then come to an end? I mean, you said in year 2 of lecturing, you were already thinking about, I want to go back to, practice. It overlapped with the CCMA. And then after the 8 years, how did you then just redirect into your current position?
So I had a stint. So my first push was that I wanted to move into a more senior role. I felt like I had a significant amount of expertise, um, and a significant amount of knowledge, and I felt like I need to grow now. I need to elevate. That was my first inclination. Even though from somewhere around year 6, I started to feel like I started to hear this whisper: you need to create your own job because the thing you want
Is in
doesn't exist.
Oh yes.
The lifestyle that you want, the world that you want, the days that you want, the flexibility and authority that you want.
I've said this a
It
lot, but
doesn't-
relatable
Yeah.
again. Yeah.
It doesn't exist. There's
Yeah.
nothing, there's no job you're going to get into that's going to give you
What you're
you
looking
deeply
for.
want. That's that's the truth. So was ignoring that voice because this thing of creating your own job is
You're
very
like,
stressful.
Njani. Yeah.
It's very stressful because
Yeah.
what are you saying? I'm not an entrepreneur, God. Like I'm not a business girly. I'm employed. Like I you
I
know,
need someone to like pay me my salary at the
I
end
get
of
a
the
salary.
month.
Like
Yeah.
I don't do what you're asking me to do.
Like you want me to go out there and hunt
chase
and
business
hustle and
and
hey,
I was
hey.
like, I do formal employment, Lord. Thank you. Please stop saying that thing you're saying to me.
Sure.
And I feel like like for me, everything that I've ever done in my career, I've always felt a deep spiritual push. Now we're finished here. Move. I've always felt that. And this voice, I was
got
suppressing.
louder and louder.
I was suppressing it. I was like, I'm not doing that thing because it's too much. It's too much and it takes too much courage, and I don't have that. Got a job at BMW Group as head of industrial employee relations.
Okay.
And I was like,
Corporate
I
Barbie.
told you, God.
Corporate Barbie.
I knew what I was doing. I told you, and did not enjoy that experience.
How long did it last?
A year. So I
Okay.
stayed there for a year. I did enjoy some elements of it, but I think that the rigidity of any corporate environment was such that I,
The
was-
voice came back.
yeah, and
said,
I felt like, hey, I'm too suppressed here, like how can that be, And but there were elements of the work that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed working with my team. I really enjoyed thinking about business in that way, and I think it professionalized me in a way that I didn't have before.
Okay.
I mean, being an academic, like you go to work in your flip flops, like you're dealing with young people.
Yeah,
You can be very relaxed at some point, and even as a commissioner, there is an element. You're professional, but you're so much your own boss. You don't. You have your.
There's no rigidity.
It's not. It's not like a rigid, structured environment, which can actually be dangerous for your level of professionalism.
Sure.
So I feel like BMW gave me a measure of professionalism that I didn't have before, a measure of structure that I learned in that space. Maybe it's working with German people, but I mean it was much more rigid and structured than what I had been doing before. So I think I had to learn those skills, but
To start your own thing,
to
right?
start my own thing.
Sure.
Because to have your own business takes unbelievable discipline and systems thinking at a level that I wasn't doing before. When you've got your own business, you've got to think of all the moving parts at the same time. There's nobody else doing that thinking for you in the beginning. Obviously, before you're able to get staff in, there's nobody else thinking through those challenges with you. So I had to learn a lot about having a business, running a business, a corporate environment that I didn't know before as a lowly academic, just publishing and teaching and then going home and taking long naps, like that was my life before. And even as a commissioner, like you sit in your office.
Also not rigid.
Yeah, your matters come to you, the parties come and sit in your office, you solve the problem, they go home. But you're not like in this sort of corporate space that you have to navigate and where you have to think of like, what does the whole CCMA look like and where do I fit in and how do I make that system work? But you don't have to do that thinking. So I had to learn that. And I mean, running my own business has made me a different person.
Sure. And how long have you been doing that for?
Since November. So I started our business in
Okay,
November.
all
Yeah.
right.
I mean, I think I'm fortunate. My husband is also an attorney. So I'm
Okay.
fortunate that he's able to do a lot of that system thinking for me. Like, this is where we should be thinking about the business going. So I'm not totally alone. But it's made me think of work in a totally different way. You know, when you're just in practice or when you're just at the CCMA or in academia, you just do your work. But now to do your own thing, you've got to think of the whole thing. How does the whole thing work? Where are the gaps in the whole thing? Not just in the quality of my work, but then have special focus on the quality of your work because you are your entire brand. And your work is your entire brand.
Yeah.
The only reason people keep it coming back to you is
It's
because of the quality of the
you.
work. Not necessarily your social media going great or whatever. The repeat clients come because of the quality of your work. So you have to have particular focus and have the late nights and all those hours that you put in, making sure that the quality of your work is at a very high standard because you are the only one speaking for you.
Hey, there's nobody
nobody
else.
else.
It was whoever
There's
that got it
nobody else.
wrong.
Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna get assigned
the buck
to the
stops literally
completely,
with you.
completely. So you're
Sure.
not gonna be able to say like, oh well, I'll give the file to someone else if this associate isn't assisting you properly. There's no one else.
You are the files. You are the person who. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that is so
Exactly.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the ghetto.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, like seriously.
Yeah.
I wish you well.
Yeah. No.
But I think, given everything that you've shared so beautifully and so colorfully, I have no doubt that you are going to make this work and you're going to excel at it. I mean, you are the person that was like, not labor law, but look at you now.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
know you're going to excel with this, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Sure. And in closing, what would you like to say to either the younger you, right? Something that you want to say to that 21-year-old who was devastated. Or let me rather, rephrase the question. What would you say to a 21-year-old that was finding themselves in that is finding themselves in your shoes where at 21, your results had, crashed horribly and you really thought it was the end of the world and you are losing good opportunities with a promising job? What would you say to that listener?
I would say there are going to be even more points in your life where things are unclear, the way they are unclear today. Yeah. Get used to points of, fogginess. Get used to it because they come and go. They come and go, but then things get clear. Things get clear. Things always clear up. Things always work out. Yes, there'll probably be another period of uncertainty sometime after that. But the more you go through it, the more that you continue to trust that everything is going to work out eventually, the more you realize you don't have to stress. Don't be so anxious. Don't cry so much.
Yeah. Hey.
Don't cry. Cry, but don't cry as much as you're crying because tomorrow is going to be better. It's not always going to be like this.
I love that. It just also made me think of that phrase, does the process know we are trusting it? We're like, trust in the process, but does the process know?
Like, I don't even know you.
The process is like, what are you talking about? Oh, Kgomotso, thank you so much for just coming and sharing your story so beautifully with us. I have no doubt that your story has left somebody feeling inspired. Carry on doing the work that you do. And yeah, my door's always open if you need business advice. But I know you're going to do exceptionally well. Congratulations on your new baby.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
2 new babies and a real new baby. Hey.
Yeah, and a real new baby.
A 4-month.
4-month-old baby.
Congratulations. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
You at home, if you haven't subscribed and if you enjoyed today's episode, I implore you to please subscribe and follow us on all our social media pages, sister-in-law across the board. Until next episode, bye.